Jody Russo crossed a busy New York street, walked into a restaurant full of armed men, grabbed a complete stranger by the collar and kissed him on the mouth. Hard, deep, like she'd known him her whole life. The man she kissed was Hector Ritchie, the most feared mafia boss on the East Coast. And 3 seconds earlier, a sniper's red dot had been resting on his forehead. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his world. She only knew that if she didn't kiss him right now, he was going to die. Before we go any further, please hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of this story because the twist will leave you speechless. And while you're at it, drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far my stories travel around the world. Now let's begin. The bar smelled like old whiskey and burnt lemon peel that Tuesday afternoon, and Jody Russo was wiping down the same stretch of mahogany she'd already wiped twice. She did that when her hands needed something to do, but her brain was somewhere else. And her brain lately was always somewhere else. "You're scrubbing a hole through the woods, sweetheart." Jody looked up. Eddie, the old regular who came in every afternoon at 3 and left at 5:30 without fail, was tapping his empty glass against the bar. "Sorry, Eddie. Got my head in the clouds." "Clouds, huh?" Eddie smiled at her with that crooked mouth of his. "Pretty girl like you shouldn't have her head in the clouds. Should have it on a man." "Eddie, when I'm 71, I can say what I want. You've been 71 for the last 4 years, and I'll be 71 for the next 4. Pour me another." Jody poured him another. Bourbon neat, 2 fingers, the way he liked it. Eddie was the only customer in the bar at 3:15 on a Tuesday, which was why she'd been wiping the same stretch of wood. Tuesdays were dead. Tuesdays were when she could think too much. And thinking too much was a bad habit for a woman with a past like hers. She'd been pouring drinks at this place McCall's for almost 2 years now. 2 years of quiet, 2 years of nobody knowing her last name was Russo. 2 years of pretending she'd never held a gun, never picked a lock, never sat at a table with men who decided who lived and who didn't. 2 years since her father's funeral. 2 years since she'd whispered into the cold marble of his headstone that she was done, that the family was done, that the name Russo would die with her. She was 29 years old and she'd been a different person in a different life, and she did not want to go back. "You ever been in love, Eddie?" The old man squinted at her. "Where'd that come from?" "I don't know. The clouds, I guess. 3 times, married twice, buried one." He sipped his bourbon. "Why you in love?" "No." "Then why you asking?" "I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm even capable of it anymore." Eddie set the glass down slowly. He was a kind man, Eddie. He'd been a longshoreman his whole life and he'd seen things, and Jody sometimes thought he saw through her too. "Sweetheart," he said, "you're 20-something years old. You got a whole life ahead. Don't talk like a woman who's already buried hers." Jody smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Get out of here, Eddie. Go home to your cat." "My cat hates me." "Your cat loves you. You're just bad at reading the room." Eddie laughed, drained his glass, and slid a 20 across the bar. "Keep the change, sweetheart. Buy yourself something pretty." "Eddie, that's a $6 drink." "Keep the change." He winked at her and shuffled out the door. She watched him go. Through the front window, she could see him crossing the street, hands jammed in his coat pockets, his shoulders hunched against the November wind. And just past him on the other side of Mulberry Street was the restaurant. Vincenzo's. Italian place. White tablecloths, candles, even at lunch. The kind of joint where the menus didn't have prices on them. Jody had never eaten there. She'd looked at it sometimes through the window of the bar the way a woman looks at a dress she can't afford. Not because she wanted to be inside, because something about it bothered her. Today, something about it bothered her more. There was a black SUV parked out front, then another one behind it, then a third one across the street. Jody's hands stopped, moving on the bar. 3 SUVs, tinted windows. Men in dark coats standing on the sidewalk, not looking at anything in particular, which was how you knew they were looking at everything. She knew that posture. She knew that geometry. She'd grown up watching men stand exactly like that around her father. "Don't," she whispered to herself, "don't you dare." She forced her eyes back down to the bar, wiped a glass, set it on the rack, wiped another. The clock on the wall ticked. 3:20, 321. Don't look across the street, Jody, don't. She looked. Through the front window of Vincenzo's past, the gold lettering and the lace curtain, she could see a table. Round table set for 6, but only 4 men sitting at it. And the man in the middle, the man with his back to the window, the man the other 3 were leaning toward when he spoke. Even from across the street, even through 2 panes of glass, she could feel it. The way the air changes when a powerful man walks into a room. The way conversation tilts. The way the world rearranges itself. He turned his head just slightly to say something to the man on his right, and Jody saw his profile. Hector Ritchie. She didn't know the face the way you know a friend. She knew it the way you know the photograph of a man your father once spat on the floor at the mention of. The way you know the name 100 old men in 100 back rooms have whispered with fear or hatred or both. Hector Ritchie, the boss, East Coast, 5 families, whatever you wanted to call it. The man at the top. And he was sitting 20 yards from her eating linguine. Oh no, Jody whispered. No, no, no. She put the glass down. She put both hands on the bar to steady herself. Her heart was doing that thing it used to do in the old days, that low, fast hammer behind her ribs, and she hated it because she'd worked so hard to make it stop. Walk away, Jody. Go to the back. Take out the trash. Do something. Anything. You did not see him. You do not know him. You are not part of this. She turned to walk to the back, and as she turned, her eyes flicked just for half a second up to the building across the street from Vincenzo's. The old textile building. 5 stories. Empty for months. For lease sign in the window. A window on the 4th floor was open. Just one. Just a crack. And in that crack, the late afternoon light hit something. Something long. Something with a polished black surface and a small round eye. Jody's stomach dropped through the floor. It was a rifle barrel. A scope. A man. She froze in place behind the bar. Every breath she'd ever taken left her body at once. Her father's voice came back to her, sharp as a slap. Always check the high ground, Jody. Always check the high ground. You don't see what's above you. You don't see what kills you. The high ground was occupied. The high ground was loaded. The high ground was about to fire. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. That's how long she had before that rifle found its angle and pulled its trigger. That's how long Hector Ritchie had to live. Why do you care? A voice in her head screamed. Why do you care? He's a mafia boss. He's exactly the kind of man who deserves a bullet. Walk away. But another voice deeper, older, the voice that had been beaten into her since she was 9 years old, said, you don't watch a man die in front of you, not when you can stop it. You don't. Jody Russo moved. She didn't think. She didn't plan. Her training took over the way training is supposed to. The way her father had drilled into her on cold mornings in a backyard in Brooklyn, and her body knew what to do before her mind caught up. She vaulted the bar, just put one hand on the wood and swung her legs over and landed clean on the other side. The customer who just walked in, an old woman with a shopping bag, gasped. Jody didn't see her. Jody was already at the door. She hit the sidewalk running. The wind cut through her thin work shirt, and she didn't feel it. She had one image in her head, and one image only: the rifle barrel in the 4th floor window, and the round table inside Vincenzo's in the angle between them. A taxi blared its horn at her. She didn't break stride. She crossed Mulberry Street against the light threading between the SUVs, and the men in dark coats turned to look at her, and one of them stepped forward and said, "Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to..." She shoved past him. Hey. She was at the door of Vincenzo's. She pulled it open. Warm air hit her face. Garlic, wine. The murmur of low Italian conversation. The maitre d' looked up. "Signora, do you have a..." She walked past him. She walked past 2 more men in dark suits who half rose from a side booth. She walked straight to the round table in the middle of the room. The men at it had not yet registered her. They were still in mid-conversation, still leaning forward, still trusting that the fortress of bodyguards outside would handle anything that came through the door. Hector Ritchie was lifting a glass of red wine to his lips. Jody Russo did not stop walking. She walked right up to him, put one hand on the back of his head, one hand on his jaw, and pulled his face to hers. She kissed him, hard, full, on the mouth. She kissed him like she'd been kissing him for 10 years and had missed him for 9 of them. She kissed him with her body angled deliberately between him and the front window, her shoulders broad, her hair falling across the side of his face, her torso shielding the angle from the textile building across the street. The wine glass froze halfway to his mouth. Hector Ritchie did not move. The 3 men at the table did not move. The 2 men in the booth did not move. Time in Vincenzo's restaurant came to a complete and absolute stop. The only thing moving in the entire room was Jody's mouth on his. Half a second, 1 second, 2. Somewhere 4 floors up and across the street, a man with a sniper rifle put his eye to a scope and saw a woman's back, a woman's hair, a blocked shot. A target who was no longer a target because there was a civilian in the way, and civilians meant witnesses and witnesses meant problems. 2 seconds later, the rifle barrel withdrew from the window. The window slid shut. A man in a black coat picked up his weapon case and walked very calmly down 4 flights of stairs and out a back door and away. Inside Vincenzo's, Jody pulled her mouth from Hector Ritchie's. She did not step back. She kept her body where it was between him and the window because she did not yet know if the shooter had given up or just changed angles. Hector Ritchie's eyes were 2 inches from hers. They were dark, nearly black, and they were not the eyes of a man who'd just been kissed. They were the eyes of a man calculating very rapidly exactly how he was going to kill the woman in front of him. "Don't move," Jody whispered, lips barely apart from his. "Please, don't move yet." He didn't move, but every other man in the room did. She heard the scrape of chairs. She heard the soft, mechanical clicks. She remembered from her childhood the clicks of safeties coming off and slides being racked. And she knew without looking that there were now somewhere between 6 and 10 guns pointed at her back. A voice behind her, calm and deadly. "Boss, step away. We got her." Hector did not step away. His eyes were still locked on hers. She watched him. She watched the calculation. She watched the rage. She watched something else, something underneath that she could not yet name. "Who sent you?" he said. Quiet, just to her. "Nobody." Wrong answer. "Sir, please, don't move. There's a sniper. 4th floor, building across the street." A flicker, just a flicker in those black eyes. "Boss, say the word." Hector raised 1 finger, just one, and every man in the room held. "Sniper," he repeated softly. "Across the street. 4th floor, windows open. I saw the barrel, I saw the scope. I'm not lying to you. And so you walked in here and kissed me. It was the only thing I could do that wouldn't get me shot first. You could have screamed. He'd have fired before the word was out of my mouth. You'd be dead, sir. Please, please believe me." Hector Ritchie looked at her. For a long, long moment he looked at her. Then he said, "Carlo." A man at his right shoulder said, "Yes, boss. Send Tommy and 3 others to the building across the street. The textile place. 4th floor. Tell them to be very, very careful." "Yes, boss." And Carlo, "Yes, boss. Nobody touches the woman. Boss, nobody touches her." "Yes, boss." Jody heard footsteps moving fast behind her. The front door of Vincenzo's opened and shut. She did not turn around. She kept her body where it was. She kept her eyes on Hector Ritchie's eyes. "You can step back now," he said quietly. "Are you sure? He's gone, isn't he?" "I think so." "Then step back." She stepped back. Her knees almost gave. She locked them. She would not let her knees give in front of this man. Hector Ritchie looked her up and down. Slowly, black work pants, white button-up shirt with a small whiskey stain on the cuff, hair pulled back, no makeup, no purse, no jewelry except a thin silver chain at her throat. "You're the bartender," he said, "from across the street." "Yes." "How does a bartender know to spot a sniper on a 4th floor?" Jody did not answer. "How does a bartender vault a counter, run across a street, push past 4 of my men, and decide that the best way to save a stranger's life is to kiss him in the mouth?" She still did not answer. "Look at me." She looked. "How?" Her throat was so dry she had to swallow twice before she could speak. "My father trained me." "Your father?" "Yes." "And who was your father, Signora?" She closed her eyes. She did not want to say it. She had not said it out loud in 2 years. She had buried it. She had killed it. She had walked away from it. "Open your eyes." She opened them. Whose home, Hector, Richie said again softer this time, was your father. Jody Russo took a breath. Frank Russo. The room which had been still became completely silent. Even the air seemed to stop. Hector Ritchie did not blink. He did not move. He stared at her like a man looking at a ghost. Frank Russo, he repeated. Yes. Frank Russo of Brooklyn. Yes. Frank Russo, who buried Vito Acosta in the trunk of his own Cadillac in 1998. She didn't say anything. Frank Russo, who I attended the funeral of 2 years ago in a cemetery in Queens. Yes. Frank Russo, who I personally placed a white rose on the grave of. Jody's eyes burned. She did not let the tears come. She had not cried for her father in front of anyone, and she was not about to start now in this restaurant in front of this man. Sir, I just want to go home. Hector Ritchie laughed. It was not a kind laugh. It was not unkind either. It was the laugh of a man who has just been handed the most unexpected gift of his entire life and does not yet know whether to thank God or curse him. Sweetheart, he said softly, you are not going home. Sir, you just saved my life in front of my men, in front of my enemies, in front of the entire city by the time the news travels. You think you go back to wiping that bar across the street and nobody comes for you. You think the man who hired that sniper doesn't already know your face. He knows your face. He knows your name by tomorrow. He knows where you sleep by Thursday. Jody's hands, which had been trembling, went very still. What are you saying? I'm saying you don't have a home to go to anymore. I have a home. You had a home. Sir, please, I just acted on instinct. I don't want any part of this. I left this life. I made a promise to my father at his grave that I would never. Your father, Hector said, was the closest thing to a brother I ever had in this world. Jody's mouth fell open. She closed it. You didn't know that. No, he didn't tell you. He didn't tell me anything about anything after I turned 18. He sent me to college. He sent me away. He told me to forget. Hector Ritchie nodded slowly. That sounds like Frank. He was quiet for a long moment. The men in the room were still standing with their hands inside their jackets. Nobody breathed without his permission. Sit down, he said. Sir. Sit down, Jody Russo. Have a glass of wine. We have a great deal to talk about. I don't drink on the job. You're not on the job anymore. She did not sit. She stood there, her arms wrapped around herself in the middle of a room full of armed men, and she thought about the bar across the street, and Eddie, and her quiet apartment with the cat she'd named Whiskey, and the 2 years of careful peace she had built brick by brick by brick. She thought about her father's grave. She thought about her promise. And she thought about the rifle barrel in the 4th floor window, and the man behind it, and the question of what that man would do tomorrow when he learned that the bartender across the street from Vincenzo's had a name, and the name was Russo. Hector Ritchie pulled out the chair next to him. Jody, he said, and his voice was not hard. It was not cruel. It was something else entirely. Something low and certain and almost gentle. Sit, please. She sat, and somewhere in the back of her mind, very quietly, the door she had locked 2 years ago at her father's grave clicked open. The chair was warm. That was the first thing Jody noticed. The chair was warm because somebody else had been sitting in it 2 minutes ago, and that somebody else had stood up and walked away without being told, because Hector Ritchie had pulled it out, and when Hector Ritchie pulled out a chair, every other chair in the room emptied. She did not look at the men around the table. She kept her eyes on her hands folded in her lap, the knuckles white. A waiter she had not seen approach set a glass of red wine in front of her. He did not ask if she wanted it. Hector Ritchie had ordered it without speaking, with a small movement of 2 fingers, and the wine had appeared. Drink, Hector said. I told you. I don't drink on the Jody. She picked up the glass. Her hands shook. She set it down again without sipping. Hector watched her. He watched her the way a man watches a coin spinning on a table, waiting to see which side it lands on. You have your father's arms, he said quietly. Long fingers, good for the piano. Frank had hands like that. Could have been a concert pianist if life had pointed him a different way. Don't. Don't what? Don't talk about him like you knew him. I knew him. Lots of men say they knew him. Lots of men are liars. Hector took a slow sip of his own wine. I am not on this particular subject one of them. Jody's jaw tightened. Where were you when he was dying then? The room got very quiet. Hector set his glass down. I was in Italy. Convenient. My mother was dying in the same week. I made a choice. I have not in 2 years stopped paying for it. She looked up at him for the first time since she'd sat down. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, those black, steady eyes, did not flinch. Your father, he said, called me on a Tuesday morning. He told me his liver was finished. He told me he had maybe a month. I told him I was on a plane that night. He said no. He said, Hector, you stay with your mother. I had my time. She doesn't have hers yet. He said, I'll see you on the other side. 3 weeks later, he was dead. My mother lived another 9 days after that. I had buried her on a Tuesday and your father on a Friday, and I have not slept a full night since. Jody's eyes burned. She blinked hard. She would not cry. She would not. He never mentioned you. He wouldn't have. He was protecting you. From what? Hector smiled. There was no joy in it. From this conversation, from this room, from the chair you were sitting in. She looked away. How old were you, bud? He asked, when he sent you to school. 18. Where? Boston, then Chicago for grad school. He didn't want me anywhere near New York. And what did you study, Jody Russo? Nursing? He laughed. Actually laughed this time. A real one. Short and surprised. Nursing. 2 years at Mass General, 1 year of trauma rotation. I quit when he got sick. Came home to take care of him. And after I needed something quiet. I'd been in trauma bays for 3 years. I'd seen enough blood. I just wanted to pour drinks for old men and go home to my cat. Hector nodded. And yet what? And yet you spotted a sniper in a 4th floor window from across a city street in 3 seconds while wiping down a bar. She did not answer. Nursing school doesn't teach you that, Jody. No. Your father did. Yes. Even though he sent you away. Before he sent me away, I was 9. He started when I was 9. Hector was silent for a long moment. 9, he said. 9. He started training a 9-year-old girl how to spot snipers. He started training a 9-year-old girl how to stay alive. Her voice cracked just a little. She pulled it back. He told me, Jody, the world is full of men who will want things from you because of who I am. I cannot always be there. So you will learn. You will learn how to listen, how to look, how to move, how to disappear. You will learn this because I love you and I will not have you helpless. The room had gone still again. The men at the other tables were pretending not to listen, but their hands had not left their jackets. He was a good father, Hector said. He was the only good thing I had. And when he died, you walked away from all of it. I walked away from all of it. And today you walked back. I didn't walk back. I crossed the street. There's a difference. Hector smiled again, smaller this time. Sweetheart, in this life, there is no difference. Crossing the street and walking back are the same act. She did not like the way he called her sweetheart. She did not like that some part of her, some small and very dangerous part, did not entirely mind it either. I want to go home, she said. I know you do. You said I can't. I said you don't have one anymore. There is a difference between can't and don't have. What does that mean? It means I will give you a home, a safer one. I don't want a home from you. And yet, stop saying and yet. I'll stop when you stop proving the point. Before she could answer, the front door of Vincenzo's opened. A man walked in fast. He was breathing hard. His coat was pulled tight and his right hand was inside it. Jody's training, the training she had buried, lit up like a row of stadium lights. She marked his hands, his eyes, his shoulders, the bulge under his arm, the way his weight was on the balls of his feet. Boss, the man said. Carlo, talk. 4th floor. Window was open like the lady said. Casing on the floor. One, just one. He didn't take the shot. Anything else? Cigarette butt. Marlboro Red, still warm. Stairwell door propped open with a brick. Service exit out the back leads to the alley behind Mott Street. He's gone. We're sweeping the block, but he's gone. Hector did not move. He did not blink. He sat there holding his wine glass, and Jody watched the muscle in his jaw shift once, then settle. One casing. One boss. He chambered the round. He chambered the round. He had me in the crosshairs. He had you in the crosshairs. And then a woman crossed the street and kissed me? Yes, boss. Hector turned his head very slowly and looked at Jody. Carlo. Yes, boss. Who's Marlboro Reds? The man called Carlo did not answer right away. Carlo. Boss, we don't know yet. We need to... Carlo. Who's Marlboro Reds? Carlo's jaw worked. He glanced at Jody. He glanced back at Hector. There's only one shooter on this coast who smokes Marlboros while he works boss. Say his name. Boss, the lady. The lady is family. Say his name. Jody's stomach dropped at the word family, but she did not move. Carlo took a breath. Salvatore DeMarco. Hector closed his eyes. He kept them closed for a long moment. When he opened them, something in his face had changed. Something old and tired and angry. Sal, he said softly. Sal sent a shooter. Sal didn't send a shooter, boss. Sal was the shooter. Sal hasn't pulled a trigger himself in 15 years. Sal pulled one today. Then this isn't business, Hector said. This is personal. Yes, boss. Jody's hands were cold. She did not know who Salvatore DeMarco was, but she knew the look on Hector's face. She had seen it once on her father the night he came home from a meeting in Bay Ridge and locked himself in his study and did not come out for 2 days. It was the look of a man who had just realized that someone he loved had betrayed him. Hector, she said quietly. He looked at her. Who is Salvatore DeMarco? For a long moment, she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he said, he's my brother-in-law. He was married to my sister. He held my niece in his arms the day she was born. He was at my mother's funeral 9 days before he was at your father's. He stood next to me at the grave, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, Hector, we are the only family we have left. He picked up his wine. His hand was perfectly steady. And today he chambered around and put it on my forehead while I was eating linguine. Jody did not know what to say, so she said the only thing that was true. I'm sorry. Hector looked at her. Don't be sorry, sweetheart. You're the only reason I'm still breathing. He drained his glass, set it down, pushed back his chair. Carlo, get the cars. Yes, boss. Tony, 2 men on every door of her apartment building until we move her out. And Tony. Yes, boss. The cat too. Boss, the cat too, Tony. Yes, boss. Jody's mouth opened. Wait. Move me out. Yes. To where? To where you're safe. And where is that? Hector buttoned his jacket. He looked down at her, and there was no apology in his eyes, but there was no cruelty either. There was just the certainty of a man who had already decided. My house. Absolutely not. Jody, I just told you, I left this life. I made a promise. Salvatore DeMarco saw your face. He saw my back. He saw your face, Jody, from 4 floors up with a scope. He saw the color of your eyes. He saw the shape of your mouth. By tomorrow morning, he has your name. By tomorrow afternoon, he has your address. By tomorrow night, he has a man at your door, and that man is not coming to talk. You don't know that. I know Sal. I know him better than I know my own reflection. I helped raise him, Jody. I taught him how this works. I taught him that you don't leave a witness, especially a witness who can identify you, especially a witness who put her body between you and your shot. Her throat closed. She tried to swallow and couldn't. So you have 2 choices, Hector said. You come with me, or you go home and you wait. Wait for what? Wait for him. The words landed on her like a hand on the back of her neck. She thought of her apartment, the little blue couch she'd bought at a thrift store, the kitchen window with the ivy and the chipped mug, Whiskey, her gray tabby, who slept on her chest at night and purred so loud he sometimes woke her up. She thought of her front door, and a man with no face standing on the other side of it. My cat, she heard herself say. Tony's getting the cat. He doesn't like strangers. Tony's good with cats. He's not good with strangers. Jody. She put her hands over her face. She kept them there. She breathed in. She breathed out. She tried one last time to find the road back to the life she had built. The bar, the apartment, the 2 years of careful peace. There was no road back. The road back had ended the moment she crossed Mulberry Street. She lowered her hands. If I come with you, she said, I am not yours. I didn't say you were. Don't get any ideas. Sweetheart, I have many ideas. I assure you none of them involve forcing a Russo to do anything she has not chosen. I am not your family. You are Frank's daughter. That is not the same thing. In this life, Jody, it is exactly the same thing. She stood up, her legs held this time, barely. One condition, she said, name it. When this is over, when Salvatore DeMarco is handled, when the threat is gone, I walk. He looked at her for a long time. You walk. You don't follow. I don't follow. You don't send anyone. I don't send anyone. Swear it. On what? On my father's grave. The room got still again. Carlo by the door drew in a breath. The men at the other tables exchanged looks. You did not in this world swear on a grave lightly, and you did not in this world swear on the grave of Frank Russo at all unless you meant it. Hector Ricci did not look away from her. On Frank Russo's grave, he said, I swear it. When this is finished, you walk. I do not follow. I do not send. You go where you want. You live how you want. And no man in this thing of ours will ever lay a hand on you again, because the word will go out from me today that Jody Russo is untouchable until the end of her natural life. She could not speak. He saw it. Now, he said more gently, let's go. She walked behind him to the door. Her legs felt like somebody else's legs. Her hands felt like somebody else's hands. The men in the room rose as Hector passed and inclined their heads, and a few of them inclined their heads at her too, which was a thing she had not expected and did not know how to receive. At the door, Hector paused. Carlo. Yes, boss. The bar across the street, McCall's. Yes, boss. The owner is a man named Patrick McCall, old Irish, used to box. Find him. Tell him Jody has a family emergency. Pay him 6 months of her salary in cash. Tip him generously. He liked her. I want him to keep liking her. Yes, boss. And the old man at the bar, the one who tipped her $14 on a $6 bourbon. Jody's head snapped up. How do you... Sweetheart, I've been watching that bar for 6 months. I've been watching you for 6 months. Her stomach turned. What? We'll talk about it in the car. Hector. Carlo, the old man, Eddie Halloran. Find out where he lives. Make sure nobody bothers him. He's got nothing to do with this, and I don't want anybody putting a hand on him to get to her. Yes, boss. Now move. The men moved. Outside, the November wind hit her face. The black SUV was idling at the curb. A man in a dark coat held the back door open. Hector gestured for her to get in first. She didn't move. You've been watching me. Yes. For 6 months. For 6 months. Why, Bayo? Get in the car, Jody. Tell me why, or I don't get in. Sal would have killed you tonight either way. Get in the car. Why have you been watching me, Hector? He looked at her. The wind moved his hair. He had a faint scar above his left eyebrow she had not noticed before. Because 2 years ago, he said, your father called me from his hospital bed, 3 days before he died. He was on so much morphine he could barely speak. And he asked me one thing. She could not breathe. What? He asked me to keep an eye on his daughter, without her knowing. He said she's going to try to hide. Let her hide, but watch from a distance. Make sure nobody finds her. And I said yes. For 2 years, Jody, every man who has come within 50 feet of you on a bad street, every car that's slowed down outside your apartment, every drunk who has gotten loud at your bar has been quietly handled. You have not noticed because you were not meant to notice. She put a hand on the SUV to steady herself. That is the only promise I have made to a dying man in 20 years, Hector said. And I have kept it every single day. And today you crossed the street and stepped between me and a bullet. And the first thing I thought when I felt your mouth on mine was not who is this woman. It was Frank, you son of a bitch. Your daughter just saved my life. And now I have to break my promise and pull her into the very thing you tried to keep her out of, because I cannot protect her from a distance anymore. Jody's eyes filled. This time she did not stop them. One tear slipped down her cheek. Hector reached up. With one finger, the back of one finger, very gently, he wiped it away. Get in the car, sweetheart. She got in the car. The door shut behind her with a soft final sound, like the closing of a book she had thought she had finished reading 2 years ago and was only now beginning to understand had always been about her. Nobody spoke for the first 10 minutes of the drive. Jody watched the city slide past her window. The streets, she knew the streets she had walked home on 1,000 times, and she felt the strangest thing. She felt for the first time in 2 years that she was being driven somewhere she could not walk back from. Hector sat beside her, not touching her, not looking at her. His phone was in his hand. He was reading something. His thumb scrolled, paused, scrolled again. His face gave nothing away. In the front seat, Carla was on a different phone, speaking low and fast in a mix of English and Italian. She caught fragments. The textile building, the brick, the cigarette. Get me Marco. No, the other Marco, the one from Howard Beach. She closed her eyes. She thought 6 months. He has been watching me for 6 months. And then she thought 2 years. He has been watching me for 2 years. And then she thought my father knew. My father asked him to. She felt sick. She felt grateful. She felt furious. She felt all three at once and could not tell them apart. Hector. He looked up from his phone. Yes. Did my father ever come to see you after he sent me away? Many times. How many? I don't know. 60, 80? He came every Christmas. He came every Easter. He came when somebody died. He came when somebody was born. He came when he needed advice. He came when I needed advice. She was silent for a moment. He told me he had cut all of it off. He told you that to keep you safe. He lied to me. He protected you. It is the same thing, Hector. Lying to protect somebody is still lying. Hector did not answer right away. Yes, he said finally. It is, and he knew it, and he hated it, and he did it anyway because he loved you more than he loved his own honesty. There is no man in this world, Jody, who has not at some point lied to somebody he loved in order to keep them whole. Your father was not a saint. He was a father. There is a difference. She turned her head and looked at him. Did you ever have children? No. Did you want them? He was quiet for a long time. Yes. Why didn't you? Because I am what I am, and what I am is not something I would wish on a child. The car turned. They were leaving the city, crossing a bridge. She watched the lights of Manhattan thin and disappear in the side mirror. Where are we going? Long Island. Where on Long Island? A house I keep, quiet, off the road, 2 miles from the nearest neighbor. The men know it, the cleaners know it. Nobody else. How many people will be there? Tonight, 6, maybe 8. By tomorrow, 12. All armed. All armed. And me. And you. She looked down at her hands. The knuckles were still white. Hector. Yes. What happens when Salvatore DeMarco doesn't go away on his own? He looked at her. He did not pretend not to understand the question. Then he doesn't go away on his own. And you handle it. I handle it. Personally. If it has to be. She nodded once. She did not feel anything about it. She did not know if that was good or bad. She had spent 2 years training herself not to feel anything about this kind of question. And now, on the night the question had finally come back to her, she was discovering that 2 years was apparently long enough to break the part of her that should have been horrified. Maybe that part of her had never existed. Maybe her father had drilled it out of her when she was 9. The phone in Hector's hand buzzed. He looked at the screen. His eyes narrowed. Boss, Carlos said from the front, half turning. It's Tony. Put him on speaker. Hector did. A man's voice came through, breathless and tense. Boss, we're at the lady's apartment, 4th floor walk-up. We're inside. Talk to me. Door wasn't kicked, no tampering, but boss, talk. There's a man across the street, white van, plumbing logo, but the plates don't match the company. He's been parked there 40 minutes minimum. Engine's running. He's on a phone. Jody's heart lurched up into her throat. Tony. Yes, boss. Is the cat alive? Cat's alive, boss. Cat's pissed, but alive. I got him in a carrier. He bit me twice. Good. Get the cat out the back. Service entrance. Don't go past that van. Boss, the van. Leave the van. Don't engage. Just get the cat and the lady's things and get out. What things does she? Hector turned to Jody. Jody, what do you need from your apartment? Quickly. Her mind was blank. Photos, documents, medication, money, phone charger. She forced her brain to work. There's a metal box under my bed in the back. There's a folder in there, my father's letters, birth certificate, passport, some cash. Tony, under the bed, metal box, photos and documents. Get it. Yes, boss. And Jody, clothes. Top drawer of the dresser. Just whatever fits in a bag. Tony, clothes for 2 weeks. Move. Yes, boss. The line went quiet for 30 seconds. 40. A minute. Jody counted her breaths. She had not realized how tightly she was gripping the door handle until her fingers started to cramp. The phone buzzed again. Boss, Tony's voice was lower now. We got the box. We got the clothes. We got the cat. Good. But the van just moved. Hector's whole body went still. Where? Pulled around the corner. Parked again. Same engine. Same guy on the same phone. He's not here for the lady right now, boss. He's setting up. He's waiting for somebody else to arrive. How many men are you with? 3, including me. Get out the back. Now, don't take the front stairs. Don't take the elevator. Service stairs. Go down to the basement. There's a door to the alley behind the building. The car is around the second corner from there. Move. Yes, boss, moving. The line stayed open. They could hear Tony breathing hard. They could hear the soft thump of his shoes on stairs. They could hear very faintly a cat yowling in the background. Whiskey, Jody whispered. What? The cat. His name is Whiskey. Hector almost smiled. Almost. Of course it is. The breathing on the line got faster. Then a door, then traffic noise, then a car door, then an engine. We're out, boss. We're moving. Anybody on you? Negative. Any car turning when you turn. A pause. Negative. Drive 20 minutes the wrong direction. Then come. Yes, boss. The line went dead. Hector lowered the phone. Jody was shaking. She had not noticed when it started. Her hands, her legs, her teeth. She was shaking like she had just been pulled out of cold water. Hector looked at her. He did not say it's okay. He did not say you're safe. He did not insult her with a lie. What he said was, he moved fast, sweetheart. He moved very fast. That van was there inside 2 hours of you walking into Vincenzo's. Sal didn't just want you dead. He wanted you dead tonight. Why? Because you saw him. I didn't see him. I saw a barrel. You saw enough that the man who hired the witness, who could identify the shooter, is now operating on a clock he cannot afford. Your face is the only piece of evidence in the world that connects Salvatore DeMarco to the attempted murder of Hector Ricci. He cannot leave that piece of evidence in an apartment with a lock he can pick. She put her face in her hands. My God. Breathe, Jody. My God, my God, my God. Jody. Look at me. She didn't. Jody? She looked up. His face was very close. He had leaned across the seat. His eyes were 2 inches from hers, just like they had been in the restaurant, just like they had been when she had her mouth on his. You are alive, he said. Your cat is alive. Your father's letters are alive. Tony has all 3 of them in a car, and that car is going to be at the house in an hour. And you are going to sit on a couch, and you are going to drink the glass of wine I should have made you finish at the restaurant, and you are going to be alive. She could not speak. Nod if you understand me. She nodded. Good girl. The words landed somewhere she had not expected them to land. She did not even know what to do with the heat that climbed up her neck. He sat back in his seat. He looked out his own window. He gave her, without saying so, the privacy to put her face back together. She put her face back together. The drive to the house took another 40 minutes. The roads got narrower. The streetlights got farther apart. By the time the SUV slowed and turned onto a long private drive, the only light was the dashboard glow and the pair of headlights cutting into a wall of black trees. 2 men stepped out of the dark when the car stopped. They had rifles. They did not point them. They saw Hector through the windshield and lowered them. Boss, Marco, all quiet. Stay quiet. She got out of the car. The cold hit her. She had no coat. Hector took off his own and put it around her shoulders before she could refuse, and it was so heavy and warm, and it smelled so much like a man. Like a real man, like wool and cologne, and the faint salt of skin, that her eyes burned again, and she had to look at the ground. Inside, he said. She walked inside. She did not see the house. She did not look at the house. She saw a hallway. She saw a coat closet. She saw a kitchen with copper pots hanging from a rack. She followed Hector into a room with a fireplace and a leather couch, and she sat down on the couch because her legs would not hold her up anymore. A woman she had not seen before came into the room with a glass of water and a small plate of bread and cheese. She was older, 60, maybe 65, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes. She set the water down on the table in front of Jody and looked at her. Really looked the way an aunt looks at a niece who has just walked in from a long bus ride. Eat, the woman said. Drink, you are too pale. Thank you. My name is Renata. I am the housekeeper. I am also the cook. I am also the woman who tells the men to wipe their feet. If you need something, you come to me, not them. They do not know how to bring a glass of water without spilling it. Jody almost laughed. It came out as a small, wet sound. Thank you, Renata. You eat. I am bringing soup. Soup first, then more, then sleep. She left. Hector had been watching from the doorway. He stepped into the room. He did not sit on the couch. He sat in the chair across from her, and he leaned forward with his elbows on his knees, and he watched her with that black, careful gaze. Jody. Yes. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Okay. Is there anyone in this world besides your cat who is going to notice that you did not come home tonight? She thought about it. Eddie, the old man at the bar. He'll notice tomorrow when I'm not there at 3. Eddie's covered. Carlo handled him. What else? My boss, Patrick, also handled. She stopped. There's a woman in my building, Mrs. Alvarez. She watches whiskey when I work late. She'll worry. We'll send her flowers and a note that you had a family emergency. That's it? That's it? That's it? He nodded slowly. 2 years, he said softly. And the only people who would notice you are gone are an old drunk, a bar owner, and your downstairs neighbor. I wanted it that way. I know you did. I'm not lonely. I didn't say you were. I had a cat. Yes. I had a job. Yes. I was fine. Sweetheart, I was fine, Hector. You were surviving. There is a difference, but She set the glass of water down because her hand had started to shake again, and she did not want to spill it. Don't do this to me tonight. Not tonight. All right. Just not tonight. All right, Jody, not tonight. There was a long silence. The fire popped. Somewhere in another part of the house, a man laughed at something another man said. A car door shut outside. Hector? Yes. What are you going to do about Salvatore? He looked at her for a long moment. That is not a question for tonight either. I want to know. Tomorrow. Tonight. Jody. Tonight, Hector. Because tomorrow I am going to wake up in a bed I do not own, in a house I do not know, and I am going to remember that the entire reason I am here is a man named Salvatore DeMarco, and I would like to know before I close my eyes what you intend to do about him. He sat back in the chair. He laced his fingers together. He looked at the fire. I am going to find him, he said, and I am going to sit across from him at a table. And I am going to ask him why. And when he tells you, then it will depend on what he tells me. What does that mean? It means I am not a man who kills family without listening first, Jody, even family that has tried to kill me. She studied him. She thought of her father. She remembered suddenly a thing he had said to her once, when she was 14, when she had asked him why he did not kill a man who had cheated him. Her father had said, because once you do it, you cannot undo it. And the men who cannot undo things are the men who lose in the end the most. You sound like my father. He taught me. He taught you. He taught me a great many things, Jody, some of which you are now benefiting from, even though you did not know you would. The front door opened down the hall. Footsteps, a muffled voice, then a wall, loud, furious, outraged. Jody was on her feet before she knew she was standing. A man in a black coat came into the room, holding a small cat carrier at arm's length the way a man holds a thing that has been biting him. Ma'am, whiskey. The cat saw her. The yowling stopped. The cat went absolutely silent. 2 enormous yellow eyes locked on her face. She dropped to her knees. She unlatched the carrier. The cat came out like a small gray rocket and went straight up into her arms and pushed his face under her chin and started to purr so loud she felt it in her ribs. She broke. She had been holding it together since she'd vaulted the bar. She had been holding it together when she'd kissed a stranger. She had been holding it together when the stranger had turned out to be the most dangerous man in New York. She had been holding it together when he'd told her he'd been watching her for 2 years. She had been holding it together when a van had moved on her block. She held the cat and she broke. She didn't sob. She just sat on the floor of a house she had never been in and held a cat and let the tears go. Hector did not come over. He did not put a hand on her shoulder. He did not say anything. He simply got up, walked to the doorway, and quietly told Tony to put her bag in the room at the end of the hall and Renata to bring the soup whenever the lady was ready, and the men in the kitchen to keep their voices down for the rest of the night. Then he came back, sat in his chair, and waited. When Jody finally lifted her head, the cat still pressed against her chest. She found him watching her. Not with pity, not with hunger, not with any of the things she had braced herself for. Just watching, like a man learning a face. Hector. Yes. Why did you wipe my tear away? In the car, with the back of your finger. He looked at her for a long moment. Because if I had used the front of my finger, he said quietly, I do not think I would have been able to stop there. She did not know what to say, so she said nothing. She just held her cat and looked at this man who had been watching her from a distance for 2 years and felt for the first time since her father had died that she was not actually alone in the world. And the part of her that had spent 2 years building a wall against this exact feeling, brick by brick by brick, felt the first stone slide quietly out of place and fall. She slept 4 hours, maybe 5. The cat slept on her chest the entire time, and when Jody woke up, the gray light of morning was already in the room, and Whiskey was staring at her face from 2 inches away, with the offended patience of a creature who had decided it was past time for breakfast. All right, she whispered. All right, you tyrant! She sat up, her body ached. Her brain, for one merciful second, did not remember anything. And then it remembered everything. Vincenzo's, the kiss, the wine, Salvatore DeMarco, a white van on her block, a man's coat around her shoulders, a finger wiping a tear from her cheek. She put her face in her hands. She breathed in. She breathed out. Then she got up. There were clothes folded on a chair by the door that were not hers, soft gray sweatpants, a black sweater, thick socks. Renata had been in the room and Jody had not even heard her. That should have made her feel watched. Instead, somehow it made her feel held. She dressed. She found a bathroom. She splashed water on her face. She looked at her reflection in the mirror and did not recognize herself, which was new and also old, because there had been a year after her father's death when she had not recognized herself either. She went down the hall. The kitchen smelled like coffee and bacon, and something else, something rich and tomato-based that did not belong to breakfast in any country except the one Renata had come from. Renata was at the stove. She turned when Jody came in. Sit, eat. The boss is in his study. He will come when he comes. You eat first. I'm not really. You eat first. Jody sat. She ate. The food was extraordinary. She had not realized she was hungry until she had finished half a plate, and then she could not stop. Renata watched her with the satisfaction of a woman who has fed many people in a long lifetime and knows the exact moment when grief turns into appetite. More. Renata, I can't. More, you are too thin. I am not too thin. You are too thin for what is coming. You eat now while you can. Jody's fork paused. What is coming, Renata? The older woman looked at her. Her eyes were not unkind. They were simply truthful. I do not know, child, but in this house, when there are this many men, and when they speak this quietly in the hallway at 6 a.m, something is coming. So you eat, you drink your coffee, you sit straight, and when the boss calls for you, you go. Jody ate the rest of the plate. When she was finished, Renata took it without a word, set down a cup of black coffee, and walked out of the kitchen. Jody sat with her hands around the warm cup. She listened. The house was not loud, but it was not quiet either. It was the particular hum of a house with too many people in it pretending not to be there. She heard low voices. She heard a door close. She heard a phone vibrate on a table. She heard the soft clink of a coffee cup being set down on a saucer somewhere. Then she heard footsteps coming down the hall. She stood up before she knew she was standing. Hector came into the kitchen. He had not slept. She could see it in his face, the shadow under his eyes, the faint line of his jaw where it had set and not unset. Good morning, sweetheart. Good morning. He stopped a few feet from her. He did not touch her. He looked at her. He looked at the sweater. He looked at the wet ends of her hair from the bathroom sink. You ate. Renata wouldn't take no for an answer. Nobody in this house takes no from Renata, including you, especially me. For just a moment, the corner of his mouth lifted. Just a fraction. Then it was gone. I need to talk to you, Jody, in the study, now. Okay. Bring your coffee. She brought her coffee. She followed him down a hallway and into a room with a heavy wooden door. He shut the door behind them. He did not invite her to sit. He went to the desk. He picked up a phone. He turned it over in his hand. He set it down. Salvatore called me an hour ago, he said. She set her coffee down on the corner of the desk because her hand was no longer reliable. What did he say? He said he wanted to meet. For what? To explain. She watched him. You're going. Yes. When? Tonight. Hector, listen to me, Jody. Listen carefully. I am not going alone. I am bringing 8 men. The location is mine. The time is mine. The chairs in the room are mine. The waiter is mine. The kitchen is mine. He will walk in with 2 men, both of whom I have known for 15 years, both of whom I trust slightly more than I trust Sal at this moment. He will sit down. He will tell me his story. I will listen. And then I will know what to do. Hector, he tried to kill you yesterday. Yes. And now you are going to sit across a table from him. Yes. That is insane. That is the rules. She stared at him. What rules? The rules of this thing of ours, Jody. There are rules. They are old. They are not always rational, but they exist for a reason. If a man in our world wants to talk before he dies, he gets to talk. If I do not give him that, I am not the boss. I am just a man with a gun. And the moment I become just a man with a gun, every other man in this thing of ours starts wondering whether they need a gun for me. She closed her eyes. My father said something like that to me once. He would have. He said the day a boss stops following the rules, his men start counting bullets. That is exactly the sentence. He used to say it about a man named Petrosino. Petrosino was the boss before me. She opened her eyes. Then your father served under him. My father served under his father before that. The 2 families have been linked for 60 years, Jody. It is not a coincidence that Frank Russo's daughter walked across the street and stepped between me and a bullet. It is not a coincidence that you were across the street to begin with. It is not a coincidence that of all the bars in this city, the one Patrick McCall owns is the one with a clear line of sight into Vincenzo's, which is the restaurant my father ate in every Tuesday for 40 years. Something cold went down her spine. What are you saying? He looked at her. I am saying I do not yet know what I am saying. I am saying that there are too many threads in this fabric for me to call it an accident. I am saying that your father got you that job. My father has been dead for 2 years. Your father 2 years ago made a phone call to Patrick McCall. She could not breathe. What? Patrick McCall told Carlo last night in the back office of the bar, with a check for 6 months of your salary on the table between them, that the only reason he hired you 2 years ago was because Frank Russo called him from a hospital bed and asked him to. Patrick had not heard from your father in 11 years. He owed your father a debt. He gave you the job. He did not tell you he knew your father. He has called your father's lawyer once a month for 2 years to confirm you are still showing up. Her hands were showing it again. My father got me that job. Yes. My father put me across the street from a restaurant that you eat in once a week. And yes. Why? Jody, sweetheart, sit down. Why, Hector? Sit down. Why? Because I think your father knew. Knew what? Knew that one day somebody was going to come for me, and he wanted somebody he trusted within line of sight when it happened. She sat down, hard, in a chair she had not seen. He used me. No. He used me as a backup plan. Jody, no. He sent me to college. He told me to forget. He made me promise. And the whole time he was setting me up to be a lookout for you. Sweetheart, listen. Don't sweetheart me right now. Hector, don't. All right. He lied to me. Yes. For my entire life. He protected you and he positioned you, both at once. Yes. She put her hands flat on the desk because if she did not put them somewhere, she was going to put a fist through something. And you knew. I did not know. You knew. Jody, I swear to you on the same grave you made me swear on last night. I did not know about the bar. I knew that he had asked me to watch you. I knew that I had been watching you through Patrick because Patrick was on the corner where you worked. I assumed Patrick was a coincidence. I did not until last night at midnight when Carlo told me, know that your father had set up Patrick the same way he set up me. Then your father set up Patrick. Your father set up me. Your father set up the corner. Your father set up the entire chessboard. And we are all of us 2 years after his funeral still moving the way he wanted us to move. That sounds like Frank. She laughed. It was an awful sound. It was not a laugh. That sounds exactly like Frank. She put her face in her hands. For a long moment, she did not move. Hector did not speak. The only sound in the room was the tick of a clock somewhere on a shelf. Finally, she lifted her head. Hector. Yes. Did my father know it was going to be Salvatore? I do not know. Did he know it was going to be somebody? Yes. He told me on his deathbed that there was a storm coming. He did not say from where. He said only, Hector, when it comes, it will come from inside the house. He said, watch your sister. Her head snapped up. His sister, my sister, Sal's wife, my sister Marina. He told you to watch your sister. Yes. What did he know? Jody, I do not know. I did not understand it then. I thought he was raving on the morphine. I thought he was warning me about a man, and the closest man to me at the time was Boss, and Marina was Sal's wife. And so I assumed he was telling me that Juan was the man and that Marina was just the proximity. I assumed he meant watch your sister because she is married to the man. I have spent the last 24 hours wondering if he meant something else. I have spent the last 24 hours wondering if he meant watch your sister full stop. Your sister. My sister Marina. She would not. I do not know what she would or would not. Hector. Yes. Has she ever lied to you? He was silent for a very long time. Yes. About what? Money, said. How much? A great deal. When? 3 years ago, I forgave it. I covered it. I did not ask her where it went. I should have. Jody's stomach was a fist. You think your sister is in on this? I think it is possible that my sister is in on this, and I think that if she is, then what I am sitting down to tonight is not a meeting between me and Salvatore DeMarco. It is a meeting between me and the closest member of my own family. And it is a meeting that is going to end one of two ways. Either I am wrong and Sal is going to convince me he was hired by somebody else and Marina knew nothing. Or I am right. And the woman I held in my arms the day she was born is the woman who put a sniper rifle on my forehead in a restaurant my father used to eat in. His voice had not risen. His face had not changed, but his hands on the surface of the desk were now very, very still in a way that frightened her more than shouting would have. Hector. Yes. Don't go alone. I am not going alone. I told you 8 men. Don't go without me. The room got very quiet. He looked up at her. What did you say? Don't go without me. Jody, listen. Listen. If this is a trap, if your sister is in on this, if Sal walks into that room with a smile and a story and a knife in his sleeve, you need somebody in that room who is not on the books. Somebody Sal does not know about. Somebody he is not counting. I am exactly that person. I am a bartender. I am a nobody. I am a face he saw for 2 seconds through a scope and has been told is a civilian. He is not going to be looking for me. And I have spent 8 years training for exactly this kind of room. 8 years. My father started when I was 9. He stopped formally when I was 17. He started again on weekends when I came home from college. I told you nursing. I did not tell you what I studied on the side. Jody. He taught me to read a room in 3 seconds. He taught me to spot a wire under a shirt. He taught me to put a knife in a man's femoral artery in under 2 seconds with a butter knife from a dinner table. I am not asking you to put me in danger, Hector. I am telling you you are walking into a room that may already be wired against you, And the one card Sal does not know you have is the bartender from across the street. He saw your face. He saw a woman through a scope for half a second from 4 floors away. He saw hair. He saw the back of a shoulder. He did not see a face. He has been told by now that I work at McCall's. He has not been told because nobody knows that I am Frank Russo's daughter. That information is in this room and only in this room. He stared at her. You want to walk into a room with Salvatore DeMarco tonight? I want to be in a room with Salvatore DeMarco tonight. Not at the table, in the room, as a waitress, as a coat check girl, as a woman pouring water, as anything. So that if it goes wrong, there is one set of hands in that room he is not counting. Jody, Hector, your father would put me in the ground. My father is in the ground, and he set up the chessboard, Hector. He set it up, and right now you and I are the only 2 pieces left who know the whole board. If I sit in this house tonight and you do not come back, then Frank Russo's last move was a move he lost. I am not going to let my father lose his last move. He looked at her. He looked at her for a very long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower than it had been all morning. You are exactly his daughter. Yes, you are exactly the woman he warned me you would be. Yes, you understand that if I say yes and something goes wrong, I will not be able to protect you, not in that room. You understand that you will be on your own from the moment you put on the apron until the moment Sal walks out that door. I understand. You understand that the last thing I want in this entire world is for you to be in that room. I understand. You understand that I am going to say yes anyway. I understand, Richard. He pressed his hands together. He brought them up. He pressed his fingertips against his mouth. All right. All right. I will brief you at 4. We leave at 6. The meet is at 8. You will be Renata's niece in from Queens working the floor for the night. Renata will vouch for you. Sal has met Renata's actual niece exactly once 6 years ago at a christening. He will not remember her face. You will not look at me. You will not look at Sal. You will pour water. You will refill bread. You will keep your eyes down and your ears open. And if at any moment in that meeting I touch the rim of my wine glass with my left index finger twice, you walk out the back door of that restaurant and you do not stop walking until you are at the car. Do you understand? I understand. Do not be a hero, Jody. I will not be a hero. You already have been once, and once is the limit. I will not be a hero. He stood up. He walked around the desk. He stopped in front of her. He looked down at her. There is one more thing. What? If it does go wrong, if Sal makes a move, if Marina is in that room and her face tells me what I am afraid it will tell me, if I touch the rim of that glass and you walk out and you get to the car and I do not follow, Hector, listen. Hector, no. Listen, Jody, if I do not follow, there is a man named Bernard Liu in Hong Kong. There is a phone number in the lining of the wallet I will leave in this drawer right here today. You call that number from a payphone anywhere in the world. You say the words, "The bridge is out," and Bernard Liu will move you to a place no one in this thing of ours will ever find you. You will have a new name, a new passport, and enough money to live 3 lifetimes. Do you understand? She could not speak. Do you understand, Jody? I understand. Promise me. Hector, promise me, on Frank's grave, the same way I promised you. She closed her eyes. On Frank's grave, I promise you. He stood there for 1 second more, then he did the thing she did not expect. He bent down. He put one hand very lightly against the side of her face. He looked at her like he was learning her again, and then he leaned down and pressed his mouth against her forehead. Just once, just for a second. The way a brother kisses a sister. The way a man kisses a woman he is afraid he is about to lose. Get ready, he said softly. We have a long day. He walked out of the study and shut the door behind him. Jody Russo sat alone in a room full of her dead father's chess pieces with her dead father's daughter's hands shaking in her lap and tried to remember how to breathe. The hours between 4 and 6 did not pass the way hours usually pass. They moved sideways. They moved like a clock that has been wound too tight and is fighting its own gears. Renata sat with her at a small table in a back room and went over the cover story 3 times. Her name was Lucia. She was 26. She was Renata's sister's daughter from Astoria. She had worked at a banquet hall on Steinway Street for 4 years. She had a boyfriend named Marco who drove a UPS truck. She did not like olives. Why olives? Jody said. Because if a man asks you if you like olives and you say yes, he will offer you one and you will eat it, and your face will tell him you do not eat olives every day. So you say no. You shake your head. You smile. You say not since I was a kid. You move on. All right. And you do not look at the boss. All right. Not once. And all right. Not even when he speaks. Not even if he laughs. Not even if a glass breaks. You are a girl pouring water. You are a girl who does not know who he is. All right. And the man across from him. Salvatore. You do not call him Salvatore. You do not call him anything. He is Sir. He is Signore. He is the man with the empty glass. You fill the glass. You do not look at his face. You do not let him look at your face longer than 2 seconds. You move on. All right. And if at any moment, child, your hands begin to shake, you put down the pitcher. You walk to the kitchen. You drink a glass of water. You come back. You do not pour water with shaking hands. Shaking hands are how a girl gets noticed. All right, Renata. The older woman looked at her for a long moment. You are not afraid. I am afraid. You do not look it. That is because I had a good teacher. Renata reached out. She took Jody's hand. She held it. Your father, she said quietly, ate at this house once. 8 years ago. He came for a wedding. He drank 1 glass of wine. He looked at me in the kitchen and he said, Renata, if anything ever happens to me, watch the door for my daughter. I said, Frank, I do not even know your daughter. He said, you will. One day you will. Jody's eyes burned. He told everyone, didn't he? He told the people who mattered, yes. He told everyone except me. That is what fathers do, child. They tell everyone except the one they are protecting. It is how love speaks in this kind of family. Jody wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. Renata, yes. Will I be all right tonight? I do not know, child, but I know this. You are walking into that room with the only 2 things in this world that have ever beaten Salvatore DeMarco at his own game, which are your father's name and your mother's instinct. She had not heard her mother mention it in 12 years. My mother. Your mother was the sharpest woman in 5 boroughs, child. She read a man before he sat down. Your father loved her because she was the only person he could not lie to. You have her eyes. You will see what you need to see in that room. Jody nodded once. She could not trust her voice. Renata patted her hand. Now, stand up. Practice the walk. Practice with the pitcher. 3 more times. She practiced 3 more times. At 6, she came out of the back room in a black uniform and a white apron with her hair pulled back and a pair of glasses with clear lenses pushed up on her face. Hector was waiting in the hall. He looked at her. He did not say anything for a long moment. Sweetheart, don't. I was not going to compliment you. What were you going to say? I was going to say I almost did not recognize you. Good. Almost. Almost is not enough. Almost is enough for Salvatore. He has not been looking at the help in 20 years. Hector, yes, if something happens to you in that room. Jody, if it does, yes. I want you to know I am glad I crossed the street. He looked at her for a long second. I have been glad, he said quietly, since the moment your mouth touched mine. He turned. He walked away. She followed him to the car. The drive into the city was not long. It was only an hour, and yet it felt like the longest hour of Jody's life. She rode in a separate car from Hector. That was the rule. Renata sat beside her. 2 men sat up front. Nobody spoke. By 7:40, she was in the kitchen of a restaurant she had never seen. By 7:50, she had a pitcher of ice water in her hand and an apron tied around her waist, and her hair retied even tighter than before. By 7:55, she was standing by the swinging door of the kitchen, looking through a small, round window at a long table with 8 place settings, and she watched as Hector Ritchie walked in and 4 of his men with him, and they took their seats. At 7:58, the front door of the restaurant opened. Salvatore DeMarco walked in. Jody's stomach turned over. He was a thin man, sharp face, gray at the temples, expensive coat. He smiled when he saw Hector. He spread his arms. He came to the table. He embraced Hector. Hector embraced him back. Two men came in behind Salvatore, then a woman. Jody felt the woman before she saw her. She felt the way the air in the room shifted. She felt the way Hector's shoulders, which had been loose, became something else. Marina, Hector's sister. She was beautiful. Late 40s, dark hair, the same eyes as her brother. She was wearing a long dress and a string of pearls, and she walked like a woman who had never once in her life waited for anybody. She came to the table. She kissed Hector on the cheek. Brother. Marina. You did not tell me she was coming, Salvatore said, and he laughed the loose laugh of a man who has been caught at nothing. She insisted. You know how she is. I know how she is. She wanted to be here. She said, if my husband and my brother are sitting down to fix a misunderstanding, I will be at the table. What can I say to that? Nothing, Hector said. There is nothing to say to that. He gestured for the chair beside him. Marina sat. Jody's hands tightened on the pitcher. She stepped through the swinging door. She walked slowly the way Renata had taught her. She did not look at Hector. She did not look at Salvatore. She did not look at Marina. She looked at the glasses. 8 glasses. She filled them in order, starting from the chair farthest from Hector. She filled Marina's last. When she leaned over Marina's shoulder to pour, she let her eyes flick down. Just once, just for half a second, Marina's right hand was in her lap. Her right hand was holding a small black object. A phone, with the screen face down, with one finger resting on the back of it. Jody poured the water. She straightened. She walked away. She walked to the kitchen. She set down the pitcher. She picked up a basket of bread. She came back. She circled the table the other way. She set down the bread. She did not look at Hector, but as she passed behind his chair, she let her left hand brush very lightly against his shoulder. A double tap, 2 fingers, then gone. It was a signal her father had taught her when she was 11 years old. If you ever see a thing in a room I cannot see, and I am the man with the back to the wall, you tell me with your hand. 2 taps, that is all. 2 taps and I will know. Hector did not move. He did not turn his head. He did not blink. But his right hand, which had been on the table, slid into his lap. And under the table, where no one could see, his thumb pressed against the inside of his left wrist. A signal of his own. To his men. Stand by. Jody kept walking. She filled the breadbasket again. She walked to the kitchen. She walked back. She set it down. She picked up an empty wine glass. She walked away. By the time she reached the swinging door, Salvatore was speaking. Hector, my brother, I have to tell you something, and I have to tell you that it is going to be hard for you to hear. Then tell me. I did not pull that trigger yesterday. There was a casing on the floor, Sal, with your prints on it. There was a Marlboro Red in the stairwell with your DNA on it. I am aware of what was on the floor and what was in the stairwell. That is what I am here to explain. Explain it. I was at that window, Hector. I do not deny it, but I did not pull the trigger. I pulled the rifle off the angle at the last second. And do you know why I pulled it off? Tell me why you pulled it off. Because in the half second before I pulled the trigger, I saw a woman walk into the restaurant and put her mouth on yours. And I knew that I could not take the shot. Not at you, not in front of a witness, not anymore. Hector did not speak. I am going to tell you the whole story, Hector. I am going to tell you everything. And I am going to tell you because I am tired. I am tired of carrying it. And because you are my brother, and because I have loved you for 40 years, and because I cannot do this anymore. Sal, let me speak. Sal, let me speak, Hector. Hector raised one finger. Salvatore took a breath. 3 years ago, your sister came to me. She told me that she wanted out of this life. She wanted to take what was yours. She wanted to go to Switzerland. She wanted me to come with her. I told her no. I told her I loved her, but I would not raise a hand against you. She told me she would do it without me. I did not believe her. Marina's face had gone white. She started moving money. You know about the money. You forgave her. You should not have. She kept moving it. She made friends in places I did not like. She started talking to a man in Chicago. A man you and I both know is not our friend. She paid that man $2 million 8 months ago. I did not know what for. I asked her. She told me it was for a piece of land. I knew she was lying. I started watching her. Marina's right hand moved. Jody saw it move. The phone. Marina was lifting the phone. Jody did not think. She did not plan. She dropped the wine glass. It shattered on the floor with a sound like a gunshot. Every head in the room snapped toward her, including Marina's. For one full second, Marina's eyes were on Jody. For that one full second, Marina's right hand was frozen on the phone but not pressing it. In that one full second, Hector's left hand came up off the table and his right hand came out of his lap and the four men behind him moved. Two of them went straight for Marina. One went for Salvatore's bodyguards. One went for the front door. Marina screamed, not in fear, in rage. She tried to press the phone. A hand came down on her wrist before her finger could move. Another hand took the phone out of her grip. A third hand pulled her chair back from the table. "Don't," Hector said quietly. "Don't, Marina. Get your hands off me. Don't." Salvatore had not moved. He was sitting very still in his chair, with his hands flat on the table where everyone could see them. "Hector," he said softly, "I am unarmed. I have been unarmed since I walked in this door. Search me." "Carlo." A man searched Salvatore. He found nothing. "Now her," Hector said. The man searched Marina. In the inside pocket of her coat, which was draped over the back of her chair, he found a small black plastic device the size of a deck of cards. He held it up. Salvatore exhaled. He closed his eyes. "Detonator," he said. I told you, Hector." "For what?" "There is a car outside this restaurant. It has been parked there since 6 this evening. It has enough explosive in it to take out the front of this building. She was going to press that button when I gave you my confession, so that the confession would die with me and with you, and so that everybody in this thing of ours would believe that the man in Chicago had done it, and she would walk in tomorrow as the grieving widow and the grieving sister, and she would inherit it all." Marina did not say anything. She just stared at her brother across the table with eyes that were no longer beautiful. Hector looked at her. He looked at her for a very long time. Jody, who had crouched to pick up the broken glass, was watching from the floor. Her hands were not shaking. They had never been shaking. They had simply been waiting. "Marina," Hector said softly. Marina did not speak. "Was it you who told Sal where I would be yesterday at 3 p.m.? She did not speak. "Was it you who picked the textile building?" She did not speak. "Was it you who told him about Vincenzo's and the angle?" She did not speak. "Was it you who hired the man in Chicago?" It was. The room held its breath. "Why?" "Because you took everything, Hector. Papa gave it all to you, every piece, every name, every house, every car, every man. You got it because you were the boy. And I got the pearls. You got more than the pearls, Marina. I got the pearls and the husband. And the silence. You got the world. I wanted the world." Hector closed his eyes. He closed them for a long time. When he opened them, they were wet, just at the edges, just enough that Jody on the floor with the broken glass saw it. "Take her out," he said quietly. "Take her to the house in Greenwich. Lock the door. No phone, no visitors. I will come tomorrow." "Boss?" "Tomorrow, Carlo. Not tonight. Tonight I need to be a brother." "Yes, boss." They took her out. She did not fight. She walked out the way she had walked in, except the men were on either side of her, and her wrists were bound in front of her with a soft strip of leather Carlo carried for exactly this purpose. The door shut behind her. The room was silent. Salvatore put his face in his hands. "I am sorry, Hector. I am so sorry. I should have come to you a year ago. I should have come to you 6 months ago. I should have... Sal. I should have... Sal, look at me." He looked up. "You pulled the rifle off the angle." "I pulled it off. You came here tonight and you sat at this table unarmed, knowing she had a detonator in her coat. I came. Then you are my brother, still, as you have always been." Salvatore's eyes filled. He could not speak. "Carlo." "Yes, boss." "The car outside. Bomb squad. Quietly. Tonight." "Yes, boss." "And the man in Chicago." "Yes, boss." "Tomorrow, with Sal, the two of us together." "Yes, boss." He turned his head very slowly and he looked at the woman on the floor in the apron, gathering the pieces of the broken glass. "Lucia," he said, and there was something in his voice she had never heard before. "Yes, signore." "Stand up." She stood up. "Come here." She walked across the room to his chair. He looked up at her from the table. He did not stand. He did not reach for her. He just looked at her in the apron with her hands cut by the broken glass, with her hair pulled back and the clear lenses on her face. You dropped a glass. Yes, signore. On purpose. Yes, signore. To stop her. Yes, signore. Why did you not signal me with the hand, like before? There was no time, signore. Her finger was already on the phone. He looked at her. You saved my life, twice, in 30 hours. She did not answer. He reached up, with the back of one finger very gently, the way he had in the car the night before. He wiped a small smear of her blood from the corner of her wrist. Lucia is not your name. No, signore. What is your name? Jody, signore. Jody what? She looked at Salvatore. Salvatore looked back. He had recognized her. She could see from the glimpse he had caught through the scope. He had said nothing. Russo, she said quietly. Jody Russo, Frank's daughter. Salvatore's mouth fell open. Frank Russo's girl. Yes. Frank Russo's girl is the one who walked into Vincenzo's yesterday and… Yes. My God. Yes. He put his face back in his hands, but this time he laughed. It was a wet, broken, exhausted laugh. Frank, you old bastard. You old bastard. You set this whole thing up from the grave. Yes, Hector said softly. He did. He had her on that corner. He had her on that corner. For 2 years. For 2 years. My God. Sal. Yes. Go home. Hold your daughter. Tomorrow we work. Yes, brother. Salvatore got up. He walked to the door. At the door he turned. He looked at Jody. He inclined his head the way the men in Vincenzo's had inclined their heads at her 2 days ago. Signora Russo. Signora. Your father was the best of us. I know, signora. And his daughter is, I think, going to be better. He walked out. The door shut behind him. Hector did not move from his chair. He did not stand up. He did not call Renata. He did not call Carlo. He just sat there at the long table with the 8 place settings and looked up at the woman in the apron and waited. Jody set the broken pieces of glass down on the table. She took off the apron. She took off the glasses. She let her hair down. She walked around the chair until she was standing in front of him. She looked down at him. Hector. Yes. I am tired. I know you are. I am tired of being Frank Russo's daughter. I know. I am tired of being the chess piece. I know. I want to be the woman. He stood up. He stood very close to her. He did not touch her. Then be the woman, he said quietly. Tell me what that means. It means that the promise I made you on Frank's grave still stands. Tomorrow when this is finished, when Marina is dealt with, and the man in Chicago is dealt with, and the threat is gone, you walk. I do not follow. I do not send. You go where you want. You live how you want. And if I do not want to walk, the silence in the room was the kind of silence that only happens between 2 people who already know the answer. Then you do not walk. And if I want to stay, then you stay. As what? As whatever you want to be. Tell me what you want me to be, Hector. Sweetheart, tell me. He looked at her for one long, quiet second. Then he reached up and put one hand against the side of her face. Not the back of his finger this time. The whole hand, warm and steady and certain. Mine, he said softly, if you want to be. She closed her eyes. She thought about her father, the chessboard, the 2 years of careful silence, the bar across the street, Eddie, whiskey, the white van, the 4th floor window, the kiss in the restaurant, the wine, the cat in her arms, the forehead kiss, the dropped glass, the detonator, the look on Marina's face, the look on Salvatore's face, the look on Hector's face right now. She opened her eyes. She put her hand over his hand on her face. Yes, she said. Yes, what, sweetheart? Yes, Hector. I want to be. He bent down. He kissed her. This time there was no sniper. There was no scope. There was no audience of armed men. There was just a man and a woman in a quiet room with the broken glass at their feet and her hand on her face and his mouth on her mouth the way she had put hers on his 30 hours ago. Only this time it was not to save a life. This time it was to start one. When she finally pulled back her forehead against his, her breath against his lips, She whispered the only thing left to say, mine too. And in the long, long story of the Russo family and the Ritchie family, and the 60 years of names and houses and graves between them, those were the words that finally closed the book her father Frank had been writing his entire life. The book he had hidden from her, the book he had positioned her inside of without ever telling her, the book that had ended at last, not with a bullet or a betrayal, but with a daughter who had crossed a street, kissed a stranger, dropped a glass, and chosen, with her own two hands, the life her father had spent 30 years trying to give her without ever speaking its name. Jody Russo was home, and Hector Ritchie, the most powerful man on the East Coast, the man who had buried his promise to her father the moment her mouth had touched his, in a restaurant on Mulberry Street, looked down at the woman in his arms and said the one word that in his world, in his blood, in his bones, had always meant forever. Mine. And this time she said it back.